What's up, y'all? Marlon Ladd here. Got another episode going on. What did that just happen? Alright, sorry about the fluctuating light. iPhones. I mean, I love the iPhone, but as far as the camera, come on now. Alright, so today we're going to talk about something that I saw on one of my posts today. And this has been an issue that's been going on for kind of a long time. You know, when I have posted things about racism and discrimination, injustice, inequality, things like that, people say, hey, I'll be your Facebook friend, but, hey, I don't get into politics, stuff like that. So there are people out there that think that talking about equality, talking about racism is political. It's not. It's ridiculous and offensive to even say that. Now, there are ideological reasons why it's not political, but let's just deal with the facts first at hand as to why it's not political. So, discrimination in any form, let's say any form, there are laws on the book where discrimination based on age, sex, race, gender, ethnicity is illegal. Okay? Now, this is part of the, if I'm not mistaken, the Civil Rights Act that was passed in 1964. You can check that, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually a law. It is also a law that this passed, the Emancipation Proclamation, back in the 1860s. I think it was maybe 1866, where black people were given equal protection under the law, because there were murders going on and lynchings and stuff like that against black people. Now, the problem is that these laws have been in place. They've been in place, but they haven't been enforced. So even though this law was on the books back then, it wasn't being enforced very much. And it's the same thing when we talk about discrimination and racism, right? You can be racist all day long, but when you start discriminating against people, when you start spreading hate and trying to, keep people from having equal rights, or if you are a corrupt cop and you shoot somebody essentially for racist reasons, like, that's against the law. Right? So this stuff is not political, okay? Black people protesting, minorities protesting, white people protesting, demanding equality for minorities, that is not political, okay? That's what the law says is how it should be. So we're trying to get people to act right based on the laws that are already on the books, okay? So that just throws whatever these people's arguments are about racism being something political, okay? So that is the nuts and bolts, the facts of the matter. Like, these are the laws, and the people are supposed to abide by them, and if they don't abide by them, then there's supposed to be consequences. They're supposed to be arrested, charged, prosecuted if they violate these offenses, and or fined, okay? So that's the foundation of that. Now we can talk about ideologically, right? So racism and hatred and discrimination against people, that is a human rights violation. So it's something that you don't do, you're not supposed to do, right? And it's just bad all around. You're not supposed to kill people or shoot people just because they look different than you do, right? Like, we've seen this play out all over the world. It doesn't just happen in the United States. Some people think that because they think the United States is the entire world, but it's not. Like, we've seen this stuff play out in Rwanda, in Africa. Like, there have been atrocities all over the world. And so that's why human rights and treating people with dignity and respect is a huge deal. So when we talk about racism in this country and discrimination, and we talk about these right-wing extremist groups, like that's a big deal. And it's a big problem. And it's not political. Like, this is bigger than that. Something that you can say is political might be a situation where you have something that is an ongoing debate. There's still research being conducted, and, you know, there are both sides that have logical and valid points, right? Now, regardless if that's the case, if there is a law, although laws are meant to be changed, but, you know, if it's a law, then you have to abide by the law, right? Or there are consequences, okay? Until you can get that law changed. But there are some issues, like, that probably shouldn't be issues, but you can call it political, right? Let's talk about taxes, for instance. How people in this country should be taxed. Well, that's a political issue, okay? Because some people think that, you know, the very rich should pay their fair share, or they should pay more because they have been able to be successful because of the things in place in this country. And so they should pay more because they make more. Some people think that. Some people think that, you know, no, the poor and the middle class should pay more just because they're poor and middle class, right? That's political. You can debate that, right? You can look at economics and, you know, financials, and you can look at past history of, you know, the debt and what the tax brackets and all that stuff has done to the economy. You can look at that, right? But when it comes to things where people's lives are at risk and at stake, things like COVID-19, for instance, that's not political. You know, people have made it political. It should not be political. Some things are common sense. Hatred and discrimination and racism is an illogical thing that just doesn't make any sense. When you ask people to explain it, they can't. It is a hypocritical way of thinking. It's like the rules apply to them, but they don't apply to me, right? It's not common sense. It's illogical. And it's, in fact, it's plain evil. Because when you have hate in your heart like that, you're not just mad or upset with people that are different from you. You want to actively destroy them. And that's what's been happening in this country since the inception of slavery. It has been to use the resources of African Americans. And once the slaves were set free, there was a systematic effort, well, even before then, but there was a systematic effort by certain people in this country to destroy and oppress African Americans. So let's get off this nonsense that talking about racism and discrimination, or even something like sexism, is political. It's absolutely not. It's political to you if, guess what? You are probably racist.